Hey everyone, Jeremy here. It is Saturday morning and I'm barely awake, but we're going to create some art. It's going to be awesome. Again, it is Saturday morning. I usually do my live streams on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, so this is kind of an off time for me. So I don't typically have like a lot of viewers at this early in the morning on a Saturday, especially a Memorial Day weekend. I imagine people are out doing like fun things out in the world. As you can see by the light here, it's pretty sunny around here. I should really get outdoors. But before I do that, I thought I'd create some art. So if you wanted to hang out with me and chat, hey, Jeff Dave's in the room. Cool. I got somebody to talk to. If you guys want to hang out with me and chat while I practice landscape drawing with pastels, that'd be awesome. So you may be wondering what we're working on today. So again, I got some new let's see, I got some new pastels, and I wanted to try doing some landscapes. So this is a photo I took when I was out kayaking. I think it was last summer. It may have been the summer before, but it was fairly recent. And this is a stream here in Kentucky, in central Kentucky, near Frankfort, if you're familiar with the area. Um, but we've got like a lot of creeks that run through the state that are like this, and this is my hobby. What I like to do is like I like to go kayaking on them. As you can see, there's like a little bit of like whitewater in there. I'm not sure how I'm going to draw that. And then all these rocks, I'm not sure how those are going to turn out. And I'm probably not going to put the kayak in. I just like the snapshot of the scene. It's really pretty out there. And I'm going to try to draw this. There's a lot going on. It's a little bit complicated. It's outside my comfort zone, but I like a good challenge. And it being Saturday, why not, right? So I'm just going to jump right into it. Like I said, I don't expect there to be a lot of chatters in the room today, but that's okay because we'll have some fun anyway. Maybe I'll just spend some time talking about what I'm doing. I don't know. Sorry, I got to drink a lot of coffee. I am not awake. It is way too early for me. Um, but that's all right. So I think I'm going to start with the sky on this. So this is paper that came with the set of pastels. And the other day, what was it? Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. I figure what day it is. On Thursday, I used the black paper that came with it. Now I wanted to try out the white. So I'm going to do that. I think, as you saw in the reference picture, the sky kind of comes down and kind of forms this like little V here between the trees. So it's it's going to take me a little while to get used to these pastels, just because I've been using mostly pencils for a while. I've got a really nice set of pastel pencils. Thanks, Just Dave. And I'm not used to using the sticks as much, but this is what I want to do. I want to be a good pastel artist, and good pastel artists, they use the sticks. So I got to take a little bit of time to get used to them. But these are often new, so there's kind of like this weird kind of crust to them. I got to break through that in order to be able to draw well with these things. I'm just going to blend a couple of different blues here. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. The problem is during the daytime, like this one of the reasons I like working at night. During the daytime, you would think there'd be a lot better sun to work with, and there really is. It's like better lighting in general. But the problem is, it's like the window right here is like right in my face, and when you've been up all night like I have, um, it's kind of rude, and the sun is rude. Just they says been away on holiday for a week. Drove back this morning. It's 3 p.m. But I need a caffeine also. That's cool. What do people in the UK do for holidays? I feel like you guys have all of Europe at your disposal. You could just drive over to the mainland, go to France, and basically anywhere. Um, I may have mentioned before, but I've got some nieces and nephews that for my older brother, who his ex-wife moved to Sweden, and the kids went with them. So I've got some nieces and nephews that have basically grown up in Sweden. Like they're practically Swedish. I think they have dual citizenship, to be honest. And it's kind of cool because like keep in touch. The internet. It doesn't matter where you live. Um, so I keep in touch with them, and it's always interesting to see the difference in cultures. So I'm going a little bit off the reference photo, but I'm also making some changes here. Like, I don't think the sky is this blue in the reference photo, but I want it to be in my picture. And I feel like you can do that. You can do whatever you want. You can change things up. But yeah, they live in Sweden, and I mean, just the cultural differences are kind of interesting. So you can see that there's some texture to this paper, which is kind of cool. Um, Kind of lends to a particular style. I don't know if I like it. Like I probably won't use this paper much in the future, but it came with the set, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Um, but as you can see, it does have this texture to it. Now, the texture is great because it picks up the pastel. I mean, obviously, you need some grooves for the pastel to live in. You got it there. I would rather use some sort of like grounded paper or like sanded paper. Um, but that's just me. But this was free. It came with the set. I was kind of curious because like this is the kind of paper that they sell in most art stores for like pastels. Like you can get the sanded paper, but you'd really have to like go looking for it, and it's more expensive. So this kind of paper, I wanted to give it a shot. I'm not really sold on it. I don't think it's great. All right, so I kind of want to get like a little background for the this kind of cliff edge here. So Just Dave says one of the housemates at university married a Swedish woman and lives there. I mean, I think it's cool. So like, I had the opportunity a while back to go over there and visit, but I was a little busy and couldn't make it. But my folks went over there. My younger brother, his wife, they all went over there to visit and stuff, and they had a blast. I mean, it's just nice there in Sweden. They're like so laid back. I can't, like there's not they don't stress anything. And it's kind of weird. Here in America, we stress everything. Like everything's like something to fight about, something to get upset about. Over there in Sweden, it just seems like so chill. And I don't know if it's just, I don't know, my relatives that live there, my nieces and nephews, or if that's just the entire country. But to me, in my imagination, like it's the entire country. So I'm gonna kind of put in some likewise darkness over here for the back of these bushes. So there's some bush, so the kind of cliffside kind of comes down here. I'll just throw in some of this as well. Kind of comes down. I mean, it's such a cool layout, like how this environment is. But that's how it actually is. You guys saw the photo. This is why I like kayaking here in central Kentucky. There's places like this all over the place. You end up, it's all limestone. So like these are limestone rocks, the cliffs and stuff. The limestone is actually really good for making bourbon. That's why bourbon comes from around here. But the uh, the rocks are very porous. You can see they're all like sedimentary rocks. Um, that's why you got the creeks that run through them. Oh, by the way, I should always throw out the disclaimer. There's an ugly phase with pastel art. It doesn't look good at first, but it comes together eventually. So, got to kind of use your imagination until it actually happens. But I am enjoying these new pastels. Like I said, I used them the other day to create like a parrot. Um, I like I like the idea. I like the combination of having the stick pastels and also the pencils for like greater details. Um, and I like the fact that it's a dry medium. So like I am practicing painting, working with wet mediums, like ranging from watercolor to acrylics to gouache, like the whole gambit. But for me, I still am a big fan of dry medium, just because I feel like I can just take this out into the world and just sit down out in the woods and just kind of sketch something out. So for me, these sticks are great. I should probably break these sticks in half. Like I hate to do that. I feel like they're just easier to work with when they're half sticks. You can buy half sticks of pastel, and they're generally cheaper. But I always feel like I'm being robbed or something like with the half sticks. I like to get the full sticks and break them. Again, we're just blocking in like areas here. So like, I know that down here I want these rocks. These rocks are just like they kind of jut out into the water. Like when you're kayaking, it's so shallow. Like you end up scratching at the bottom of your boat, but the water out there is so shallow. You kind of have to go this way, and then there's like some um, some rough areas in the back. I should take. Actually, I have posted video of me kayaking in some cases. It is a lot of fun, and I do have like a whole bunch of photos of like kayaking and such. But so I want this water to be kind of brown, but also a little bit green. So it's going to be kind of tough to mix some of these colors. So I don't have like a lot of experience with pastels. It's something I've been trying to develop over time. Um, but again, you know, it really depends on like what I'm working on. So like this is something that I haven't had the opportunity to work on. So every experience with the pastel is kind of new unless you're like, I don't know, doing the same thing all the time. But the other day I was doing a parrot, now I'm doing like a landscape. So that's the kind of variety here. But if you don't practice, you don't learn. Hey, Geppetto's up. Like, yeah, Geppetto is awake. He's just like he's just not enjoying the sun. That's all. Geppetto is up. How's it going, kid? Hopefully you're enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. Nice to have a U.S. person in the room as well. Just Dave doesn't and have Memorial Days. Yeah, so I'm trying to get some green in here because so the thing with water is that it reflects everything around it, right? So you have to get the brown because it's reflecting the mud at the bottom, and you have to get the greens because it's reflecting the trees around it, and then you have to get a little bit of blue in there because it's reflecting the sky. Water is so interesting to draw. Or I guess in this case, it probably is properly called painting, um, because you know there's kind of like a painting aspect to this, I think. Usually I feel guilty saying painting because to me it's just drawing, but in this case it does feel like painting. Kid says would normally be doing yard work, but it's raining. Ah, yeah, as you can see, it's nice and sunny here. I am going to go out and see what the world's about today, but it's still a little early for me. That's why I kind of like doing this Saturday morning streams because like it's too early to actually go out and face the world on a Saturday. Like I'm not awake yet. I'm this is my as you can see there's a lot of coffee in here, but this is my third cup. I think I got maybe I don't know, 4 hours of sleep last night. That's what you get when you stay up all night playing on the internet. Tonight I am going on that riverboat cruise I was talking about, which is going to be cool. Maybe I'll get some pictures of Louisville and try to do a picture of Louisville. I've got some cool ones of night, like Louisville at night. I don't know how to draw that, like all the lights and stuff like that. But I think it'd be fun. I'll take some pictures and stuff. So I really don't like the texture of this paper. It's hard to get into these grooves and make it look kind of smooth, but I think the more layers I add, the more it'll come together. I do like this color here. That's like I don't want to throw up the reference. I should have the reference picture in the future. I'm going to try to make an effort to do that. I should have the reference picture up next to the picture that I'm drawing while I'm working on it. I think that's probably a better format because like I could compare this color and I think this is actually pretty good compared to the reference photo. So everything's going to look really blurry and so on until I get in here and start adding some upper layers and some details. But I think this picture will work out. This is more cool. Yeah, actually, this is pretty good for green. So I just like to use my finger to kind of blend some of this stuff, but you can use whatever. Some people wear like rubber gloves and stuff when they work in pastels just because they don't like the texture of it, and that's all cool. You can do whatever you want. It's your world. Um, some people use blending stumps. Some people use like really fine, those peanuts you get, or you used to get them. I think environmentally friendly uh, nature of the world is doing away with the little peanuts that you used to get when you get a package. Um, but those things, those are good for blending. So I am going to use this color and try to figure out to get this little edge here of where that water is. So that water that's kind of, it's not really rapid. It's like, it's just fast moving water over some rocks and stuff like that, which I guess is probably what you would call rapids, but it's not like, I think there's different classes to whitewater when it comes to kayaking, and I forget what they all are, but this is like on the mild side. There are people out who go out there after like a storm or something like that, and you can like they seem to be really having fun, like basically riding waves and stuff like that. I think that's the only time this is ever really dangerous. There are some like dams along. This is called the Elkhorn River, or Elkhorn Creek. Sorry, if you are familiar with Central Kentucky, maybe you've heard of it. But this is the Elkhorn Creek, and there are some dams alongside along it, and I don't know if dam's the right word, but there are areas that some people get in trouble, like going over, like they actually go over it with their kayak. And you really shouldn't do that because the water will take you under. And that's the only time I would think that this is ever like super risky. Otherwise, it's just basically you're tearing up the bottom of your boat because it's so shallow. Kid says, this is a great time of day to be out on the kayak before it gets hot. That's true. Um, Most of my sunburns come from being out kayaking. And I get like severe sunburns sometimes because like I rarely ever wear shorts. I'm just like a pants kind of guy. So when I'm out in the kayak, I do wear shorts. And if your feet are tucked up inside of the kayak, it's exposed to the sun, especially if you're out on one of these creeks, because on these creeks you don't have, I mean, it's all sun above you. And yeah, that stuff like basically tears your skin up. I end up getting so red from doing all that. So here I'm adding some darkness to where these clumps of trees will be, just so that when I come back over it, I'm really having to press a lot harder than I thought I would to get into these grooves. I'm not happy with this paper at all. So this is probably the last time. So I have like 3 sheets of this that came with it, but I can tell you right now, I'm not a fan of using this kind of paper for pastel work. So I don't know. Like if you want a review, there's my review. I don't like this paper. This paper sucks. Um, so yeah, just like a little comment about the paper. I'm not enjoying working on this paper. The black paper it was pretty cool the other day for the parrot. So I don't know why I'm not enjoying this white paper. It just seems like there's so much white still going through, and I have to really press it hard in here. And I didn't want to do that. Anyway. It is what it is. Like this picture will look a certain way, and then future pictures will look different because I use different paper. Coffee pick of Louisville. That might be cool. Like a cityscape done in coffee painting. That would be cool. I don't know what that would look like, but I can give it a shot. If anything, you guys should know by now, I do like taking on a challenge, even if it doesn't work out right. Like if something ends up looking terrible, that's fine as long as I give it my best. So I'm trying to get in some shadows here for the bases of the rocks, and then theoretically I would overlay rocks above it. Again, this is outside my comfort zone. I'm not used to doing landscapes at all, and this is a pretty complicated landscape. It's easier when you're doing like a field. That's why I kind of started with doing like the horse fields that are around here in central Kentucky. Um, because like you just have a field, right? And then you can like add a few little accents to it. So this type of complexity is a little bit tough, but that's okay. It'll be fine. So there's like a tree trunk here that kind of comes up. So I'm just going to kind of pencil this in a little bit. I'm not sketching in, I guess. So there are trees up here on this ridge here, but then somehow I got to get the rocks in here. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, but we'll figure it out. Challenges. You know, there's always challenges when you're an artist, especially when you're working with something you're not familiar with. But you know, like you're always unfamiliar with things until you're not, you know. Every artist out there, even Leonardo da Vinci, you know, he started somewhere. Can you imagine? That would be awesome if they unearthed like Leonardo da Vinci's sketches of when he was a kid, you know. I'm sure they were terrible. Like, could you imagine Leonardo da Vinci doing stick figures? That'd be amazing to find. It would be such a cool discovery. I don't think such things exist. Probably artists like Leonardo da Vinci, at some point he used that for like to start a fire or something. Like I got a bunch of pictures. I was considering doing like the ceremonial burning of like a lot of the pictures that I don't like because they're just laying around. They're stuck in drawers and stuff like that. I don't feel like I'm learning anything from keeping them around. Like sometimes it's good to keep some pictures so that you can go back and kind of like look at them and see how you've grown. But I've got so many pictures. I think it would be kind of fun to just do like a maybe even do a poll. Like I can do a poll on the community tab where I'm like, you want to save this picture from the fire or should I burn it? And then you guys choose which one. You know, like how they pardon the turkey at Thanksgiving. Like you guys would choose which picture gets pardoned, and all the other ones would go in the fire. I think that'd be fun. Anyway, kid says I live near where they have water release days, and it brings kayakers from all over. Water release days. Is that like when they have a dam and they release the waters to kind of like flush the system or something like that? Because they have one of those here, and it is kind of cool. All the water that comes out of the out of it is like cold, and I'm not a fisherman, but I hear that's really cool for the fish. Like people, it's kind of like what you say. It attracts people from all around, and when they do that, it's I don't know. All the fishermen show up, but certainly what I like about that. So like if what you're describing is what I think it is. What I like about that is that it flushes all the water in the river to where it's super clear. Like you can see beneath the water, like I don't know, up to like 20 feet or something like that. They have for those of you in central Kentucky, that's how the Dix River is. There's like a dam there, and they flush that every now and then. And I've been out there afterwards, and the water there is just super clear. Like you can see fish swimming in it, like beneath the water, and it's kind of cool. So the Dix River, there's a confluence between the Dix River and the Kentucky River, and where that water coincides. So the water coming out of the Dix River dam spillway is super cold, and then mixes with the water of the Kentucky River, which I guess is a few degrees warmer, but also muddier. And like the point where they both converge, the Dix River is super clear, and then the Kentucky River is like muddy, and you can see the line where they come together. It's so amazing. Like, especially when you're in a kayak and you're floating over it, it's like you're floating over I don't know, the clouds of Jupiter or something like that. You know, like the planet Jupiter, how it's all like basically just clouds and stuff. That's what it seems like when you're looking down into the water. It's so cool. I don't know. I need to take. I have pictures of it. I should post pictures of it. But really, even the pictures don't do it justice. You have to be floating over it. That's what's so amazing about it. Kid says, if my house was on fire, I'd save my coffee raccoon pig. Yes, that is. All right, that's it. I'm done. That is the ultimate pinnacle of one's art career. If there's a fire in someone's house, they would choose to save your picture that you created. That, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Let's pack it up, call it a day. I think that's the I think that's basically like as high as you can go as an artist. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's actually probably the best compliment I've ever gotten on my artwork. If there was a fire in my house, I would save the artwork, and that's cool. I mean, hopefully you would save yourself first. Like take yourself, your pets, you know, any significant other in your life. Hopefully all of you guys get out first, and then maybe take the picture of you painting. Because I can always make you another one. Like if you're gonna if you're gonna be in a fire, yeah, all right. So this is a general rule. This is for like anybody who ever acquires my art. I'm gonna throw this out there. If you're ever in a fire, like your house is burning down, just leave the art behind. I will create you another one. Open invitation. So like anybody who's ever in a house fire and you own some artwork that I created for you, just leave it be. I standing offer. I will create you more art. It's not worth it. Don't risk your life to save a painting that I made. That's it. That's a hell of a compliment. The fact that you might actually risk your life for a picture. So this clump of trees over here, I think is really nice. And probably, I think I should extend it out a little bit. So I'm looking at the reference picture, but it's also loosely based on the reference picture. I don't feel like I need to stick too close to it. No, but you know, most of you guys, you're not from Kentucky. You're not going to go out there and go kayaking and be taking this picture and be like, oh, this is where Jeremy took a picture or drew a picture. So I do feel like artists have some leeway in bending, you know, reality a little bit and not doing it precisely. As long as I capture the spirit of one of these Kentucky creeks. Kid said true after I saved my dogs. Yeah, save the dogs first, then you can save your coffee picture because I'll create you a new one. You don't have to worry about it so much. Yeah, so I just wanted to resemble the creeks around here. And all right, so I think that's looking okay as a start. I'm going to try to introduce some colors over this just to see how they look because I'm not sure. Again, this is outside my comfort zone. I don't usually do pictures like this, so I'm not 100% sure how these things are going to go. I'm going to start with this gray pastel and see if I can get some semblance of rocks up here. And this may be something that I have to use the pencils on to get that detail in there because this is a smaller paper than I'm used to as well. I should throw that out there. So like usually the smallest paper I do pictures on, well, that's not true. I've also done pictures on 5x7, but usually the smallest paper I've done work on is 9x12, which is kind of my go-to paper just because I have a crap ton of it. Like I've got like a bunch of watercolor paper in that size, and I've got some sketch paper in that size and so on. So like my go-to size is usually 9x12. This is smaller. I think I measured it as like 7 inches, maybe 7x9 or something like that. So I'm not sure how much detail I can get in here at that level, but you know, that's part of the fun, right? Figuring out what you can do. So I'm going to use this pencil now to see if I can get some of the texture of the rocks. Because again, this is like sedimentary rock. So you have these like these lines, striations, sediment, like layers. I don't know what I would call these things. But you have basically this texture coming across the ridge here. And it's in the background, so I don't feel like I have to go super detailed on this. I can kind of simplify it a bit. And just kind of give the impression that these are rocks behind it. I think you'll get the idea once the foliage, the leaves and stuff are in there. You'll get the idea that these are cliffs, you know. Because it's a different color than probably what the leaves will be. So I don't think it requires a lot of imagination to take that leap. And maybe I'll come in with some highlights over that. But this is probably a good start. It's tough because again, this paper is so like you can see the texture of this paper. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's not that I regret using this paper. I am actually glad that I use this paper so I can get an idea of how this paper works. But I don't think I'll be doing it again. This paper is dead to me. It's just too textured. Like I run into this problem using watercolor paper sometime, and it's fine if it's watercolor. But even with the watercolor paper, I get down into these grooves that I'm not able to with this paper. But the texture is spot on for picking up this pastel. Like you want some sort of tooth to the paper. This is just too much. I don't think the black paper wasn't this toothy. So I'm just trying to get some of these trees in here to have some green to it. I know it doesn't really show up on camera that well, but this is a green pencil. Trying to get some of those bushes up there with some green. And I usually like to use a bunch of different colors when doing trees, even like maybe some colors that don't exist in nature or something like that, just to kind of like let you know that there is stuff going on up here. Hey, Creative Boredom, how's it going? Just drawing a landscape using some pastels. I'm really on this pastel kick lately. I'm still doing my coffee pictures and probably like, paintings like watercolor and so on, but I'm on this pastel kick. Just because I've always had a soft spot for pastels. I used pastels when I was a kid, like when I was a wee little Jeremy. Um, Geez, I don't know. Like, I'm just gonna guess and say like 8 years old is when I first used pastels. I'm sure I was a little bit older than that, maybe 9, something like that. But I've always had a soft spot for pastels. I feel like there's a couple of different mediums out there that I would consider like if you mastered those mediums, then you're a true traditional artist, right? Acrylics probably is on the lower end, but certainly oil paints. Like if you master oil painting, you're a true artist, right? In my mind. And from a drawing perspective, if you master charcoal and pastels, you're a true artist, true traditional artist. There you go. Now, of course, that's bullshit. If you master any kind of medium, you're a true artist and stuff. But that's just like the snobbery in my mind of like what makes a true artist is like, or true traditional artist. Got to get the charcoal down. Got to get the oil paints down. Got to get the pastels down. One day I will take on oil paints. I haven't done it yet, but one day. Good morning, afternoon, or whatever other. So it's 10:30 in the morning on a Saturday, and I'm awake. This is something that's rough for me because I generally stay up pretty late on Fridays. Like even if I'm not doing anything, I'm watching TV or something, or a movie or something like that. Fridays are my Friday nights are my unwind time. So like I usually stay up pretty late. Last night I stayed up until like 3 o'clock in the morning, and here it is 10:30, and I've already been up for a while. I might have to take a nap. Okay, so I think that's looking good. I mean, you can see the texture, and I can't do anything about that. That's the paper. But also, it's not terrible. I actually like. It's not my style. It's not what I would prefer. I would prefer a smoother paper. But in of itself, it's not. It being what it is, it's not bad. I like it. So I'm gonna try to get some brighter. And probably as I add more layers over this, it'll start filling in some of that. So like I can see already that that's kind of filling in some stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I'm too quick to judge this paper. And again, this isn't like a review video or anything like that. I haven't even said what paper this is. It's probably mostly because I don't know. It came with the box of pastels. But to me, if you ever go to like the art store, like a Michael's or Hobby Lobby or something, and you look at the papers, there's generally like a pack of paper that says pastels on it. And, that's what this is. It's basically like this heavily toothed paper. And there's nothing wrong with this, but, you know, when you work with pastels, um, eventually you'll want to use like some sort of sanded paper. Like when you watch the video tutorials from like people who actually know what they're talking about, not me, not me, but other like actual pastel artists, they'll tell you that you kind of want to work with like pastel mat or sanded paper. It's basically almost like sandpaper. And I've got this technique. It's not really my technique. I copied it from somebody else who had a great tutorial on it. I don't. I think it was the Monet Cafe. I'm not sure, but she had the idea to use watercolor paper with clear gesso over it to get that kind of sanded thing. That's what I generally use, and I like it. It's cheap um, because that pastel mat paper or that pastel mat surface. I don't even know if you'd call it paper. Um, that can get pretty expensive. Like it is expensive to use proper pastel materials. However, you can be cheap like me. This whole set of pastels is like under $30. The paper itself, well, this paper came with the set, but the paper I usually use is just watercolor paper. You can pick that up at a dollar store, really, if you don't care about the quality of it. And then you add that clear gesso to it. It's it's not that expensive. And yeah, if I was ever creating like some masterpiece or something like that that I actually cared about, I would probably care more about the materials I use, but I'm just practicing here. Like I'm learning how to do landscapes. And part of that learning how to do landscapes, I don't want to spend a lot of money on materials. Even I mean, I'm not broke. I can go out there and buy really nice material. It's just I don't see the point in doing that with when you're just practicing. Like this picture is never going to be hung up on a wall, probably not. So I don't I don't think I should spend a lot of money on it, if that makes sense. So anyway, long story short, you can get started with pastels relatively inexpensively, and that's what I do. The the only real cost, so the paper itself. Okay, so like some watercolor paper can be expensive, but also you can get some relatively inexpensive Canson watercolor paper. You know, it, it's archival quality. It's not going to like die on you or anything like that. It's there's nothing wrong with Canson watercolor paper, and it's pretty cheap. And then that clear gesso, I think it runs you, I don't know, I want to say under $20 for like a couple of ounces. This is this is 8 ounces. I don't think I spent more than $20 on that. And then you can get like a gallon of it for like $70. I mean, that's when it starts getting expensive. But I'm not doing that. I'm not buying a whole gallon. But if I was doing this, like I don't know, if I was cranking out, I'm trying to think how many pictures I could crank out a day. Like if I was doing this full time, like this is all I was doing. Like maybe it's my job or something. Um, I probably can't crank out 2, 3 pictures a day and stuff. That's probably when you would want a gallon of clear gesso. But anyway, so all of this stuff isn't that expensive, and it's all you need to get started. And you can create some really pretty pictures. Now, granted, you can create some really pretty pictures in watercolor, and watercolor is going to cost you a lot less. But I like pastels. Like I said, I have a soft spot for them. Growing up with them, I think, I think the I think a pastel painting looks really cool. It's the type of art that I would hang on my own wall. Creative Boredom said, so far looking quite nice. Thank you. Appreciate that. You're always so polite. So as you can see, it's hard to see on camera, but I'm introducing like lighter shades of green over this stuff. And then ultimately, I'm going to run the risk of this might be too much yellow, but I think this yellow with that green below it will create some really nice highlights right here. I'm just going to kind of speckle that in. It's probably a little bit lighter than it needs to be, but I kind of really want that to show up. So this is starting to take a little bit of form, this tree over here. Again, the texture of the paper I'm not happy with, but it is what it is. As far as like getting some sort of recognizable thing out of it, I think it's starting to take some shape. So to fill up some of this tooth, I feel like I have to press super hard on this, and that's what I don't like about it. I just want to lightly pull my pencil across the paper and get what I want out of it, and that's just not going to happen. So I put in, some of the features, and now I'm coming back with some darker shade areas all together that creates the illusion of a clump of trees. If you're paying close attention to what I'm doing, it's really just a bunch of scribbles, like when you're doing a bush or whatever. And it's probably different for other kinds of bushes. Like, obviously, if I was doing like a cactus or something, I would be trying to make different marks. But for these type of trees that are around here, they're all just this, and this is probably common across the United States, probably all over the world. But they're just a bunch of little scribbles, really. And it's just like a series of small scribbles. And you just kind of organize them into clumps, and then you get like trees. Yeah, I hate the texture of this paper. It sucks. All right, but it is what it is. I'm committed to it now, guys. Um, go over here. There's some highlighted areas. So in true Bob Ross style, usually when I'm doing these trees or foliage, again, I'm practicing, so like I'm trying to develop a technique, but um, I start off with like a darker color, like a darker green, and then like I add like maybe a mid green to it, and then I come back and I add like little highlights over it. I feel like that's pretty consistent with how Bob Ross did things. Obviously, I'm no Bob Ross, but if you want to do a landscape, I think that that'll get you there, and then you can develop your technique beyond that. But that's a good start. Yeah, I'm definitely using smoother paper in the future. I'm trying not to just sit here and complain about this paper, but I'm not happy with this paper. The one of the other problems with your pastels, and you go up and you spend $30 on the pastels, and you want to kind of take care of it. I mean, $30 isn't a ton of money or anything like that, but you go off and spend money on something, you want to kind of take care of it. But the nature of using your art supplies is that you are destroying your art supplies, but in the creation of something new. So I am destroying these pastels, and they're like crumbling. I've got like little bits of, like you can see it up here, little bits of crumble of pastels, and it like pains me because I'm like, man, that's a waste of pastels. Um, but that's the whole point. You're destroying one thing in the creation of another. Like, and it's so weird to think about it, but that is art. That's what you're doing with art. Is you're you're destroying a tube of paint in order to create a painting. It's just that's what you're doing. And it's so weird to think about it that way, but every act of creation involves some sort of destruction, and and I don't know. Like I don't think that might be a new observation of mine. I don't think anybody's ever said that to me. that art is the process of destroying one thing and the creation of another. Yeah, but that's what it is, right? I mean, I feel like I just had some sort of epiphany. But no, honestly, that is what art is. It's destruction and the creation of something else. So you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. That makes sense. All right, maybe that's a little bit too brown. I would be kind of careful with this brown, but I did want to get some texture into these clips. This is tough because of the texture of the paper. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get the kind of detail into this cliffside that I wanted to get. But it's not bad. I think this is overall looking pretty good. I think for the most part, it'd be a Memorial Day is basically a 3-day weekend, no matter where you are at your stage in life. Like whether you have a job you got to go to, most places take Memorial Day off. If it's like certainly if it's an office job. I guess if you if you work at McDonald's or something like that, you're probably not going to have the day off just because it's Memorial Day. But even if you don't have the day off, um, usually when there's a holiday, everybody's just more relaxed. Like, say you do work at McDonald's or you work at like, I don't know, Cracker Barrel or something as a server. The customers who come in, even though you're working on Memorial Day, they're going to be like more laid back, so your job's going to be easier. Like they're going to give you less shit. Yeah, 3 day. There's no downside to a 3-day weekend, I don't think. So it's basically a 3-day weekend for everybody, regardless of whether you get to participate in doing nothing. There's a little dog outside playing. So cute. I wish I knew what kind of dog that was. Let me draw you, dog. Come back. Let me draw you. I do like the idea of just drawing random things. Like I was trying to figure out what picture I wanted to do today, and you know, Just Dave, who was in here earlier, I don't know if he's still around. He was talking about seascapes, and I'm like, I'm going to do a seascape. But then when I was looking at the seascapes, it felt disingenuous for me to do a seascape because I don't live by the sea. I probably will do some of that in the future, but um, the the seascape I was looking at wasn't necessarily like the waves and stuff that you typically find in in seascapes. It was more it was more like here's some rocks and here's the sea and things like that. So it was more like a shoreline, I guess. And I thought it was cool. I was all set to do it, and then I'm like, I get doing waves and stuff as a part of your learning curve and doing pastel work. Like you want to be good at doing seascapes, but just doing like random sea. I feel like it's almost my duty. Eh, OBS crapped out on me. Hopefully it comes back. Yeah, it looks like it came back. Cool. Um, I feel like it's my duty to represent Kentucky with my art when when doing YouTube. So that's where I'm at. I think I can let me grab this. This black might actually work a little bit better. I want to get some really dark values in here. This is almost like a black charcoal, I think. Again, I don't like this paper because I'm having to press down so hard just to get in these grooves. I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I like how it's looking, so I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm kind of a smooth paper kind of guy, and you can't really use smooth paper for pastel because like it's just gonna fall off the page. But by smooth, I mean You can have a textured surface like sanded paper without having these ridges and so on, like these little pockets. It's the pockets I don't like. Yeah. I feel like that looks enough like what I was wanting to go for so that I can work on this foreground. I basically wanted some of this stuff done. Like arguably, this stuff back here needs less detail. Sorry. I'm still waking up, so I still got the coughs from. Honestly, I might have to take a nap after this because it is way too early for me. I knew I was going to do this stream too. I like to leave it open so I don't commit to it. So that if I didn't want to do the stream, like last night, I was like kind of on the fence. Like it got to be like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm going to cancel the stream, and I actually did. But then this morning I woke up. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing too bad this morning. I'm gonna reschedule that stream and do it anyway. Um, so here I am. But I should have went to bed earlier. Like, what's wrong with me? All right, so I'm gonna put some rocks in here, and again, I'm not 100% sure how I'm gonna do this, but this is all supposed to be rocks. There's some rocks under the water here, and then you have like little tiny boulders in the background. And if you ever go kayaking on this stuff, it is tough. I mean, it's so much fun. It's fun going on like whitewater and stuff. I mean, this isn't like real whitewater. It's just it's the creek version of whitewater. It's fun. It's like a roller coaster going over some of these rocks and everything, but it tears the crap out of your kayak. Um, I recommend, ooh, Mr. Fancy Pants, but I recommend having two kayaks, one for things like this that you can tear up, and then one that you don't. So like get a cheap one. Like I mean, kayaks range a great deal in price. Like you can go off and get a kayak easily for like $500 or something like that. And that I would consider that way too expensive for a kayak that you would want to take out on water like this. Um, you can probably get for I don't know, $100, $150 a cheaper kayak. And that's perfect for this kind of stuff. So like this kind of stuff where you're going to tear up the bottom of your kayak, you don't want to be using a fancy kayak for that. So I'm trying to get a lot of dark value in here so that when I come back over it with a lighter pastel, kind of like I don't have to come back over it and put in dark shadows and stuff in between rocks. Again, I'm not used to doing rocks, so like I could pivot and make this like grass and stuff. That'd be easy. But I really want to get these rocks in because like if you can paint rocks in a creek, then you can do castle walls, and that's the ultimate goal. Everybody wants to draw a castle. I'm just joking, but all right. So over here, same deal. I want some rocks below the surface, but they're going to be a different color. They're going to be kind of like a dark green and not this black. I'm debating whether or not I want to put my kayak in this picture, but it's not really about my kayak, so I don't think I'm going to do that. I want to get to the point where I'm doing a bunch of these pictures, like just little snapshots of things I see. Like, I don't have to do like a gigantic masterpiece of a landscape. It's just like everybody goes for walks, everybody does things and stuff, and everybody takes pictures with their phone. That's the sort of stuff that I think would be fun to create more pictures of. Just little snapshots of life. Because I do like going out in nature. I do it quite frequently. I take pictures as I go. I should be able to translate the pictures that I take into pieces of art. And again, like I really want to get where I'm going out and doing this live in the woods and stuff. Like while I'm standing by the creek, I just want to stand out there with like a little sketch pad or something and do this live. Um, Instead of having to work from like a reference photo, I think that would be cool. Getting some of these dark areas in here, little areas where the rocks are under the water. I'm still not sure exactly how I'm gonna convey that this is water yet, but at some point I will figure that out. I'm gonna have to. It's basically probably just gonna be some highlights above it, but I don't know how that's going to work. I'm not used to this paper. I'm not used to pastels in general to where I feel comfortable like layering that kind of stuff, but I'm gonna try. We'll see how it goes. Cover up this. It's weird. Yeah, I think it's looking fine. Still looks kind of rough, but it's okay. I feel like the roughness of it isn't my fault. It's the paper. The paper sucks. But whatever. Have I mentioned how much this paper sucks yet? All right, so I had kind of a sandy. I'm trying to put all my pastels. So this is my pastels, by the way. Um, I kind of showed them the other night when I was working on Parrot. But I got these sticks, a lot of bright colors. I'm not using those today. Those are more for like doing like I don't know, like wildflowers or something like that. But I've got these like more neutral, kind of earthy kind of greens and stuff. That's what I'm using. And I'm also trying to fill my way around the palette. Because again, I'm not a brand new set of pastels, so I'm not used to like having so many colors to choose from. But like this one, I think would work for rocks. Let me see how this goes. What happens if I start laying this? Like, is it just gonna not really work out? Is it going to look nice? Work up some of this edge here. No good. this this pastel is like falling apart on me. All right, so this might not be soft enough actually to make these rocks. Might have to pivot to an even softer pastel, but that's okay because I do have options. No, this will work. Again, having to press really hard, and that's not right. I don't feel like I should have to do this much work. But it's the nature of the pastels. These would probably be, this particular type of pastel that I've got, would probably be on the medium side of softness. So like, you have soft pastels, you have hard pastels. This would probably be somewhere in the middle. It's kind of soft, but it's not the softness that I want. Like it's starting to look like clouds instead of those sharp edges that I'm really searching for. So I'm going to cheat. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go over here to this other set of pastels that I've got. See if I can find some colors in here. These are more for doing portraits, but I think I can find some colors in here that will work. And these are super soft. So these are some Rembrandts that I've had for like years. And as you can see, they're like super soft. So like they go right over these other pastels. And that's a key, right? So like if you're looking for a tip or whatever, have a set of soft pastels like this that will just layer over everything else. I often go back to these Rembrandts whenever I want to do like some white highlights or something like that, especially like when doing a portrait or something. I'm gonna break this. Yeah, actually, let me just use this one. Probably work. And I really like these Rembrandts just because like they just layer over everything. So I feel like I am gonna have to come in here with some pastel pencils once again and kind of create the texture between the rocks, which I really didn't want to do, but whatever. The things we do for our pictures. So, anybody out there in the world doing anything super interesting this weekend? Or is it just basically another weekend? Like, anybody grilling out? I want to grill some hamburgers. I haven't had any hamburgers in a while, um, but I kind of want some. I've been thinking about it. Kind of, like, I don't even know what the price of ground beef is these days. I don't buy a lot of it, but I do feel like I want some. So. All right, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I want to get some semblance of it being rocks again. So I'm going to just kind of roughly sketch some of the shadows between the rocks. Again, I didn't want to do this. I wanted a dark layer that kind of poked through, but it's just not working out on this particular paper. If this was sanded paper where it's like sandpaper, I think that would have worked out. So again, part of the artist, being an artist, I'm learning is being able to pivot. I've mentioned this before. Like it seems like a lot of what you're doing as an artist is problem solving. So like you encounter an issue where it's like, man, this just isn't working out. You're able to pivot to something that does work out. And like I'm basically drawing rocks here. I didn't want to do this, but it is what it is. So, something doesn't work, you make it work some other way. The important thing is make it work. And artists, I think, are really good at that. That's one of the things that attracts me to this. So like, it's partly like I want to be more creative, so I want to create pretty pictures, and I want to have that as a skill set. But it's also like it's mentally challenging. I am mentally challenged. That's what it is. It is mentally challenging to encounter an issue like how do I get these rocks in here and then just make it happen. It's like problem solving. I love it. I do that in software development. I do that just in life, balancing the checkbook. Do people still have checkbooks? Balancing the bank account. There you go. You know, budgeting, planning, all of that stuff. I mean, it's problem solving. I love problem solving. There is pardon my French, but there is a book out there called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And it's one of my favorite books. It's like you should probably take it with a grain of salt because I feel like the guy oversimplifies problem solving a little bit, and I hate when people do that because it doesn't really reflect real life. But it is a good book, and I listened to the audiobook. I recommend that, but it's an easy listen to. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the the outlook the guy brought to it, the kind of personal philosophy that he brings to it and stuff. I think it's Mark. I forget his last name. I think it starts with an H. Anyway, you can look it up, whatever. Um, but he made a comment in there, and I wrote it down. I don't know where I put it, but I wrote it down as kind of a reminder to myself. He says that happiness is. I'm paraphrasing. It's not an exact quote, but he said happiness is solving problems. All right, and the more I thought about it, it's like yeah, it really is because like you don't really have a choice in life of whether or not you have problems. Everybody has problems. It's just how life works. You are always going to have obstacles and challenges and things that you have to um, overcome. He says that like happiness is solving the problems, and that resonates with me as well because like throughout my life, every time I solve a problem, there's that little endorphin rush, right? Like you feel good, like man, I nailed that. I solved that problem, and it's just like a series of problem solving exercises. Life is just a never ending series of solving problems, and so all of that made sense and it resonated with me. And then the second part of what he says is really what hits home. It's like you can't avoid problems. Life is full of problems. It's just the way it is. But you do have a say in what sort of problems you have. And it's like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So like, I can't change the fact that life is going to be difficult. I can't change the fact that there's going to be challenges. I mean, obviously, all of us are going to have health-related problems at some time. You can't change that. But what you can change is this, or what you can't. I, I don't want to say you can change this because you really can't. But what you have influence over is the type of problems that you want, right? Or the type of problems that you have. So you do have some say in that. You don't have a lot of say, but you do have some say in that. And and I like that philosophy. I like that outlook because it is true. Like I can't change that at some point in my life I'm going to have health problems, because everybody dies, right? We all die. So at some point I'm going to have health problems, but I get to choose what sort of health problems. So like I used to smoke when I was younger, and I gave that up. So now I probably will have less of a hard time breathing as I get older, right? Whereas if I chose to continue smoking, I probably would have had like some issues as I got older, breathing, like even up to like lung cancer or something bad, right? So I'm glad I gave that up. Um, at some point in my life, I started exercising more. So like I go for walks, I ride bikes, I do kayaking. So I feel like that helps me out to where I'm gonna have like less of a problem with like mobility. Um, you know, I try to earn money, so earning money is better than not having any money. So there's one type of problem that I choose. How do you make money? Well, that's a problem for everybody, but at least it's a different kind of problem. You get to choose your problems is essentially what I'm getting at. And his his remark again, I'm paraphrasing because it's been a long time since I listened to this book and I don't have it memorized or anything, but I think his outlook was that choose better problems. It's not like you get to not have problems. It's just but you do have some influence on what sort of problems you get. And I do agree with that. I agree with that a lot. So I have since tried very hard to just choose better problems or have at least some say in the type of problem. I don't want to just be the kind of guy that suffers life without some sort of agency. I want to have a say in how my life goes. I want to be an active participant. And part of that is actively choosing different problems to solve, if that makes sense. So, for example, I could have decided not to do artwork, right? You don't do artwork, you ain't got our problems. Um, but I take on those sort of problems. I want to learn how to be a better artist. Uh, and taking those on, I encounter new problems like where do I get my art supplies? Like how do I create rocks in this picture? Things of that nature. These are problems that I wouldn't have if I just didn't do it, right? Like if I just woke up this morning, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play video games or I'm going to go for a walk instead of drawing a picture. I wouldn't have these problems. Um, I have these problems because I choose better problems, and that's what I actually have written down on my wall somewhere behind me. Is to choose better problems. That's my mantra. Because you're going to have problems, but you have a say in what sort of problems you have. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I like this. This is it looks kind of like rocks. It's really hard to see on camera, and I hate the texture of this paper. The texture is distracting from the picture, but it is what it is. But I do like that it is starting to look a little bit like the creek that I would go kayaking on. Anyway, hopefully you guys are still out there. You guys have been super quiet in the chat. I feel like I'm monologuing here, which is no problem. Like any good villain, I'll monologue. But if you guys are out there, feel free to chat. We can talk about whatever you want. Some of the interesting conversations people have in here are like aliens. Um, People talk about, I mean, I guess it being a political year, you can even bring up politics. I'm probably not going to engage too much on that just because I'm not, I don't like politics myself, but I understand it's an election year. I'll probably be more interested in your political view than giving up my own political view just because, like, I don't know, you probably put more thought into yours than I put into mine. So this right here is my attempt at creating like a reflection on the water so that you do have this like stuff beneath the waves, not waves, but beneath the water. Like you have rocks and stuff showing through. Hey, cool. Uh, Just Dave says, be thankful for small problems because the big ones are around the corner. That's my point. Or I don't know if that's my point, but thank you for saying that. I completely agree. Um, that's another thing about it. Well, literally, the book is called "The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck." So, the overall point is don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, it's the same kind of stuff you see in self-help books all the time. It's not like he's reinventing the wheel. He's just presenting it in a different way, a way that kind of resonates with me. So I like that version of it. But yeah, again, why stress the problems that you've got when you're probably going to encounter some big ones at some point. At some point, we encounter that there's one thing in life that we're not going to survive, right? And we don't know what it is until the end. Like we probably won't even know. I mean, you might just keel over or something, not even be aware of it. But yeah, there is one thing in life that's going to do you in, and until that happens, really, literally nothing else matters because like you're going to survive it. The only thing that you're not going to survive comes at the end, and you're less likely to be aware of that anyway. So I don't know. Like this is kind of a morbid topic on a Saturday morning, but yeah, I mean, it's actually empowering when you think about it. It's not actually morbid. Like there's only one thing that you have to worry about, and you probably won't ever even know what it is. It'll just one day happen. All the other days it doesn't matter. Anyway, Babetta's in the room. Just Dave's in the room talking about aliens. That's cool. I do like the topic of aliens. I like the idea that there's more out there in the universe. It is. I don't know if you ever look at the pictures. Carl Sagan talked about the tiny blue dot, and like it shows like the Earth is just like a little blue speck in the background. Um, it does feel lonely. Like like you can look at that picture and feel like, man. I mean, for one thing, it kind of puts everything in perspective, but also like if you really think about it, it's like, man, the universe looks cold and dark and lonely. I would love for there to be other creatures out there in the world, out there in the universe. Sorry, not the world. Um, so it's a fun topic. Sometimes we talk about like, well, depending on who's in the room, like there's a variety. Sometimes we talk about like cryptids, like Bigfoot and things like that. It's just a wide variety of topics. Man, if this texture wasn't here, this would actually be one of my favorite pictures because I like the layout of it. I feel like it's a good drawing, but this texture of this paper is just so super distracting. So, mental note: don't use this paper again. But I think it's fine. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're only like an hour and 15 minutes into it. I don't know what else I can do with this texture, but um, like I can try to smooth things out. Let's see what happens. This might actually screw things up, so I'm just going to do it in like a corner. What happens if I use this? Yeah, if I use this blending stump to really press into these areas, I can fill it in. But even then, it feels like a lot of unnecessary work. But I'm going to do it down here in the water because I want the water to look smooth. Like, I feel like it's okay if the background looks a little textured, but this water is supposed to be smooth with like features over it. So I'm going to take the extra effort. Even then though, it's not doing what I want it to. It is what it is. Oh well. But that's another technique, and your pastel drawing. Again, it would probably work on better paper, but if you have a background that is super smooth, the features that you layer over it really pop out. So if I smooth out all of this stuff here, theoretically, I can come back over it with some reflections of the sky. It'll look right, but there's just no way to make this super smooth. It is what it is. It looks better in person than I think it does like on camera. It looks like staticky on camera, but whatever. But yeah, I kind of like the idea. I like the idea of aliens and the fact that you're gonna die. There you go. That's the takeaway from this morning's conversation. Now, in all seriousness, I do like the idea um, that you really only have to worry about one thing in life, and that's it. That comes at the end. I mean, it's super empowering if you really, really embrace that thought that there's only one thing that's going to do you in. Until that happens, that it's all good. It's literally all good, because you're going to survive it. But then, like when you start thinking about loved ones and people you care about, then you're multiplying that. So like the things that you have to worry about for yourself, you start thinking about for, I don't know, your spouse or your kids or something like that. So then it becomes a little bit challenging. But that's life. That's the way it is. But that and aliens, I think that between that and aliens, you've got a pretty well-rounded conversation, I think. All right, so I'm going to try to get some details in here of trees since I'm just here. Little branches and twigs. Even those, like, it's so hard, it just kind of gets mixed up with everything else. But so this paper, I'll just grab the most recent one here. So this paper here compared to this here, you can see vast difference in the texture, right? So like this is my smooth paper with like kind of a sandy grit to it versus this where the paper itself tries to be your surface for capturing the pastel. And I don't see it. Like, I don't know, like maybe you just have to add like 500 layers or something to get it to work right. But I think this picture would look really awesome if it was on that smoother paper. Anyway, I'm going to introduce some more color down here just to, I don't want it to all be green. I wanted to pick up some of the sky in some various places. Yeah, huge difference. Thank you. Thank you. It's not just in my mind. Aliens are going to kill us all. There you go. The one thing to tie it all together, the one thing that you have to worry about in life that comes at the end, so there's no sense in stressing anything until that happens, is aliens. Aliens are going to come and kill us all. That's what you need to worry about, aliens and Bigfoot. I mean, some people think Bigfoot is an alien, so there you go. That's really ties everything together. You need to worry about Bigfoot coming in, murdering you in the middle of the night. I swear, YouTube's going to block all my videos because I'm just about nonsense. Yeah, so I don't really know how people do pastel work on these type of papers. Maybe it's just my limited experience. Maybe it's just that they suck, but I will in the future. I don't know. This turned out all right. Sorry. Okay, so here's another example of why texture matters, right? So this is my white paper, and it's got a similar texture to the black paper I use on Thursday to create this parrot. But you can notice, even though it has the same texture, these bumps aren't as pronounced, right? So like I was able to come over it with pastel and get these smooth feathers and so on. Like yeah, there's some rough areas, but I intentionally left them rough because this is like I don't know. like a branch or something the bird's sitting on. But up here it looks cloudy and all that stuff. This should be like this, and it's just not working out. So paper matters is the takeaway. So I can figure out how to get this. But still, I mean, it still looks like a decent sketch. I'm having fun with it. I just personally prefer smoother paper. And maybe it's the type of picture too. Like, if I was doing something that had less detail, like I want to get detail into these rocks, but maybe if I was doing like a haystack or something, I don't know. I don't know what artists draw. Um, then the texture might not matter as much. But I do like smoother paper. I always have. Doesn't matter what I'm drawing, especially like when I'm working with like colored pencils or something. Smoother paper looks nice. I like the smooth paper for charcoal, like even newsprint and stuff. I think works well for charcoal. So, I plan to do more of these landscape pictures in the coming weeks, and I don't know, just whenever I feel like it. Um, so you can expect me to try different papers going forward. I'm gonna have to look at the paper that you can pick up at the art store that says pastel paper on it, just to kind of compare it to this and see if it's the same thing. Like I feel like this white paper is like just more textured than usual. It's almost like it's like watercolor paper. And the worst part is I use watercolor paper with the pastel sometimes, and it's not this texture. I can sit here and fill in every single one of these like little grooves, and maybe that's what it takes. But I feel like I'm doing 3 times the work. Like if you squint and look, like if you squint your eyes a little bit and you look at it, and also I feel like the camera is adding like the camera's not good with textured things. It ends up looking staticky. But I do enjoy doing landscapes. I enjoy doing Kentucky landscapes, but I do feel like branching out. One of the other contenders for like what I might draw today is the Taos Pueblo. Um, I took a bunch of pictures of that when I was in New Mexico, and I'll probably still do that just because it's kind of cool. Um, but then if you draw the Taos Pueblo, you're competing against great other Taoist artists like I don't know, like Nikolai Fechin and J.H. Sharp, and it's very intimidating. So at some point, I will do the Taoist Pueblo, but I have to build up to that confidence wise. Kid says, "Looks good. Enjoy your holiday weekend and turn out the light for Geppetto. See you Tuesday." Yeah, I'm probably gonna actually wrap this up. Because I don't feel like I'm adding anything additional to it by just going over some of these areas. Maybe I can make it look a little bit better, but I don't think it's going to look that much better. So one of the things I do like about pastel though is like the dramatic difference of like when you remove the border tape. I like this little white border that it leaves. So I feel like this was a good exercise. I'm actually pretty happy with this picture. Like if I had a sketchbook journal or something like that and this was in it, I'd be pretty happy with it. Just like that noise. You guys ever listened to somebody peeling tape? I should do the whole ASMR thing. I feel like that works better for women than it does for men. Like, you don't really want to listen to me doing ASMR. Like, what do you think of that tape? Anyway. All right. So, Jeremy does ASMR. I like it though. I think this looks pretty good. So let me hold it up to the camera a little bit better. So again, I can't do much about that texture. That texture just makes it look kind of super grainy and stuff. It is what it is. And the camera makes it look even worse. But if you set that to the side, I actually think it captured the landscape a little bit well. Let me go back to the reference picture real quick. So like, a lot more color in here, a lot more detail in here than what I got into mine, but it's a good attempt. I got the essence of the place. I don't know. I'm happy enough with it. It's fine. For a Saturday experiment, it's pretty cool. All right, so I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Saturday morning. Geppetto's going to take a nap because it's too early for him. If you guys like this this new time on the weekends, I can probably be persuaded to do it more often, maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday or something like that. You know, just leave a comment down below. Let me know what times work best for you guys. In the meantime, here in the United States, I know that Just Dave's over in the UK. They don't celebrate holidays. Not like we do over here in the U.S. U.S. holidays are the best. I don't know. Anyway, for those of you in the U.S., enjoy your 3-day weekend. Let me go back to me. There you go. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I appreciate hanging out with you guys as always. The sunlight is just nuts. I'm gonna have to go back to sleep myself. But anyway, I'll see you guys Tuesday. We'll have a whole new picture. It'll be great. All right, bye guys. See ya.